The first thing they noticed wasn't the prosthetic leg. It was the way the patient stopped screaming the moment she laid hands on him. The doctors had already written him off. Lost cause the drain. Someone barked at the disabled rookie nurse to get back. Clear the space for people who knew what they were doing. Ava didn't argue. She never did. She just leaned in closer to check his airway. That's when the man on the gurney grabbed her wrist hard. The entire trauma bay went silent. His eyes found hers, glassy, fading, but somehow certain. And through the blood pooling in his mouth, through the ragged hiss of a punctured lung, he whispered a name no one in that hospital had ever heard. Iron Widow. They told me you were dead. The air left Ava's lungs all at once. No one had called her that in years. Not since Afghanistan. Not since the mission that took her leg and saved her commander's life. Then the ER window started to rattle. Engines, but not ambulances. 4 black Navy SUVs rolled into the emergency bay drive, slow and deliberate, and through the glass doors, a Navy SEAL admiral was already stepping out, asking for her by name. Before we begin, take 1 second to drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. The first thing people noticed about Ava Hale wasn't the prosthetic leg. It was the way she moved. Like, it didn't matter. Seattle General's ER was already drowning when the ambulance bay doors exploded open and the night shattered into chaos. Paramedics screamed vitals over each other. A gurney crashed across tile, metal rattling like gunfire. The smell hit in waves. Antiseptic cut with rain and diesel fumes. Ava was halfway through restocking airway kits when the call tore through the department. Incoming trauma, critical, unstable, and the entire room snapped into that razor-sharp focus that only real emergencies create. She stepped aside as doctors thundered past, making herself small, invisible, exactly the way she'd learned to survive here. Rookie nurse, quiet, competent enough not to draw fire. Her badge read Ava Hale in blocky capital letters. And beneath it, the word that followed her everywhere, rookie. A label. She'd stopped fighting the day they pinned it on her. The patient came in dying. Male, early 30s, multiple injuries, bleeding through the sheets faster than anyone wanted to admit. Someone barked the time. Someone else muttered, next bay. Like they were already giving up. Ava watched his chest rise and fall. Shallow, uneven, wrong. Watched the monitor numbers lag behind what his body was already screaming. She felt it then, that familiar knot tightening behind her ribs. The one that came when the pieces didn't fit. Clear the hall, Dr. Mercer snapped. The attending on duty, already gloved up, already moving. He didn't look at Ava when he said it. He never did. Ava slid closer anyway, hands steady as stone as she checked his airway. The patient made a sound, low guttural that surprised everyone in the room. Mercer's frown deepened. He's not stable enough for you to be crowding the space, he said, still refusing to meet her eyes. Step back. Ava didn't argue. Never did. She leaned in 1 more inch. The man's eyes flew open. His hand shot up and locked around Ava's wrist. Not violent, not panicked, but deliberate. Blood smeared hot across her glove. The entire room went still, the way it does when the script breaks and no one knows what comes next. His gaze found hers, locked on, focused through the pain. I know you, he rasped, each word clawing its way out. They told us you were gone. Mercer stepped forward, authority hardening his voice. Sir, you need to let go. Iron Widow, the man whispered. The words barely made it past his lips, but they hit the room like a gunshot in a library. You're alive. Ava felt every molecule of air leave her lungs at once. No one else reacted. Not at first. The name was nothing to them. Just another stranger's delirium. Another symptom to ignore. But Ava's heart slammed against her ribs like it had hit a wall at full. Speed. She gently pried his fingers loose and pressed 2 fingers to his neck, forcing herself back into the now, back into the work. Pressure's dropping, someone called out. Ava looked up and met Mercer's eyes for the first time. All shift. He needs a second assessment, she said quietly. Right side. Mercer's face flushed. I said, step back. Ava did. She stepped away, hands at her sides, watching. The monitor dipped lower. The patient's breathing shifted. Subtle, easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. Ava was. She tracked the trachea. Watched the skin. She knew what was coming before the machine started screaming about it. When the alarms finally caught up, the room detonated. Bag him now. Where the hell is respiratory? Get imaging up here. Move. Ava stayed exactly where she was, hands clasped, watching Mercer scramble to catch the problem she'd named 30 seconds too early for him to hear. The patient crashed hard, and the room turned frantic and sharp-edged. Orders collided mid-air. Someone knocked her shoulder and muttered a distracted apology that meant nothing. They pulled him back, barely. Just enough to keep him breathing. Just enough to buy him 10 more minutes. Mercer exhaled hard, adrenaline curdling into anger. He rounded on Ava. You don't freelance in my trauma bay, he said, voice tight and low. You don't diagnose over my shoulder. And you sure as hell don't confuse dying patients by feeding into their delusions. Ava nodded once. Yes, doctor. He jabbed a finger toward the nurse's station. You're off this case. She went. Out in the hallway, the fluorescent lights buzzed like insects. Ava leaned her weight carefully, adjusting the strap at her prosthetic knee, where it always rubbed raw after long shifts. She rolled her ankle once, testing the connection. The ache was there, dull and familiar. Manageable, it always was. A junior nurse, Lena, caught up, eyes wide and uncertain. He said your name, she whispered like it was a secret. That was really weird. Ava gave her a small practice smile. People say all kinds of things. Lena hesitated, searching Ava's face. Are you okay? Ava glanced back through the glass doors at the trauma bay. The patient was still alive for now. I'm still on shift, she said evenly. Where do you need me? The next hour dissolved into the usual controlled chaos. IVs threaded, charts updated. A belligerent drunk cursing at shadows. A kid with a fractured wrist trying not to cry. Ava moved through it all like water, quiet, constant, anticipating problems before they became emergencies. She didn't ask permission anymore. She'd learned she didn't need to. Then the building trembled. At first, it felt like distant thunder. Low, heavy, wrong. The windows rattled in their frames. Conversations died mid-sentence. Ava stopped, tilting her head just enough to listen. That vibration wasn't weather. Engines. Security radios erupted with static. We have vehicles entering the emergency drive. Unmarked. Repeat. Unmarked. The sound grew closer, heavier. Tires screamed. Doors slammed in perfect sequence. People drifted toward the windows despite themselves. Drawn by instinct. Ava stayed put, finishing a line she'd started. Outside, 4 black SUVs rolled into formation like they'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. No lights, no visible plates. They stopped as one, precise as a heartbeat. A man stepped out of the lead vehicle, older, silver-haired, the kind of posture that didn't bend for anyone. His uniform was plain, almost unremarkable. But the way everyone around him moved told the real story. He scanned the entrance once, sharp and efficient, then walked inside without slowing down. Security tried to intercept. He didn't even blink. I need the nurse, he said, voice calm and absolute. Ava Hale. The entire lobby went silent. Mercer pushed through the crowd, indignation flaring hot. This is a hospital, he said, chest puffed. You can't just. The man looked at him. Mercer stopped talking. I'm here on Navy business, the man said, each word a period at the end of a sentence. And I don't have time. His eyes swept the room and found Ava. Didn't linger, just confirmed. Where is Iron Widow? He asked. Every single head turned. Ava felt it settle over her. Then that old familiar weight, the one she'd learned to carry, the one that never truly left. She finished taping off the 4, capped it, stripped off her gloves, and dropped them neatly into the bin. Then she walked forward. Her prosthetic clicked softly against the tile, a sound that suddenly felt deafening. People moved aside without realizing they were doing it. The man watched her approach, his expression giving away nothing. Yes, Ava said. Just that. No rank, no explanation. Behind her, Mercer found his voice again. She's a nurse, he said. Like that explained everything. A rookie. The man didn't look back. Not tonight. Ava stopped at the threshold. Cool night air brushed her face, sharp and clean. She glanced once over her shoulder at the ER, at the dying patient who'd recognized her, at the doctors who never had. Then she stepped outside to meet them, and the door slid shut behind her. The doors sealed behind Ava with a soft pneumatic hiss. And just like that, the ER noise vanished, replaced by the low, controlled rumble of engines idling in information. The night air bit cold and sharp, clean enough to sting her lungs. 4 black Navy SUVs sat in perfect alignment along the emergency drive. Paint flat and matte, windows dark as slate, their presence impossible to ignore. No sirens, no flashing lights, just cold, calculated intention. Hospital security lingered at the edges, hands half raised, looking completely out of their depth. The man who'd asked for her, silver hair, ramrod spine, eyes like winter glass, stood beside the lead vehicle. Up close, Ava could see what the crowd inside had missed. The way armed personnel instinctively deferred to him without a word spoken. The way even trained soldiers gave him space. "Ava, hail," he said again. Not a question this time. Confirmation. "Yes." He studied her for a long beat. Not her face, her posture, the prosthetic, the way she distributed her weight without thinking about it. "You're still on shift," he observed. "I am." Something flickered in his eyes. Approval, maybe. "Then we'll make this quick." Behind them, the ER doors burst open again. Dr. Mercer pushed through, flanked by 2 administrators who looked like they'd been dragged from their beds. "This is completely unacceptable," Mercer said, voice razor thin. "You can't just remove staff without." "I'm not removing anyone," the man replied, tone perfectly level. "I'm notifying you." He turned back to Ava. "We need you inside." Ava didn't move. "I already am." That earned her a sharper look. "Not like this." She followed his gaze. Across the drive, a 5th vehicle had arrived. Unmarked. Civilian model. Driver staying behind the wheel. Ava recognized the body language of the man in the passenger seat, coiled, waiting, ready for a signal. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about her. "What happened?" she asked directly. The man's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "A system flagged your presence," Mercer let out a sharp laugh. "She's a nurse." The man ignored him completely. "You were supposed to be gone," he said to Ava. Buried deep enough that even bloodhounds couldn't pick up the scent. Ava held his stare. "I did what I was supposed to do." "Yes," he said quietly. "That's exactly the problem." A ripple moved through the SUVs, doors opening in perfect synchronization. Men and women emerged, not in full tactical gear, but close enough to send a message. Their eyes tracked Ava with a familiarity that made the hair on her neck stand up. Recognition without curiosity, respect without ceremony. One of the administrators finally found her voice. "Who are you people?" The man turned slowly. "Admiral Ross, United States Navy." The words hit like a physical blow. Phones appeared, then disappeared back into pockets as people remembered too late that recording this might be a very bad idea. Ross gestured toward the ER entrance. "There's a patient inside who recognized you by a name that officially doesn't exist." Ava's throat went tight. He shouldn't have been able to. "He did," Ross said, and when he spoke it out loud, a dormant identifier activated. Mercer laughed again, sharp, disbelieving. "This is insane. She's been here 6 months. We ran full background checks." Ross looked at him again. Mercer stopped laughing. "You ran civilian checks," Ross said flatly. "Those came back clean because they were built, too." Ava shifted her weight. The prosthetic clicked softly. "If this is about him," she said, nodding toward the hospital, "he needs medical care, not whatever this is." Ross nodded once. "He's stable for the moment." "For the moment," Ava echoed, hearing the unspoken part. A radio crackled at Ross' shoulder. He listened, expression unchanging, then nodded once. "Bring it in." 2 of the SUVs moved forward, completely blocking the emergency drive. Security retreated another step. Inside the ER, the watching crowd pressed closer to the glass, whispers threading through the tension like smoke. Ross turned back to Ava. "Walk with me." They moved side by side toward the entrance. Mercer followed, sputtering objections nobody bothered to answer. Inside, the ER felt smaller somehow, tighter, like the walls had leaned into eavesdrop. The patient lay sedated now, chest rising and falling mechanically. Ava felt the pull toward him, the unfinished thread still connecting them. Ross stopped a few feet from the bed. He served with a unit that no longer exists on paper, Ross said quietly. One you were attached to. Ava said nothing. He broke protocol tonight, Ross continued. Spoke a name he was supposed to have forgotten. That's his mistake. What concerns me is that he remembered you existed at all. Ava met his eyes dead on. Memory doesn't just disappear because you bury it in a file somewhere. Ross exhaled slowly through his nose. You always said that. Mercer snapped. You know her. Ross didn't look at him. I know what she did. The monitors beeped steadily in the background. Ava checked them out of reflex, noting the numbers. The slight drift she'd need to correct later if she got the chance. Ross watched her hands move. You lost your leg saving your commanding officer, he said, not asking. Ava's fingers paused for half a heartbeat. Then she finished adjusting the drip rate. I lost it saving a patient. Ross inclined his head slightly. Of course you did. Another radio call came through. This one tighter, more urgent. Ross turned away to listen, his spine straightening as the words filtered in. Ava caught fragments. Cross-reference asset designation. Secondary alert. When he turned back, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. There's been a breach, Ross said carefully. Not here, Ava frowned. Then why are you locking down my hospital? Because whatever triggered the system, Ross said, didn't stop with just you. The ER lights flickered once. Just once, but enough to be noticed. Somewhere deeper in the hospital, an alarm started chirping. Short, insistent, wrong. A nurse's voice cut through. Urgent. ICU needs immediate assistance. Ava didn't hesitate. She was already moving, pulling fresh gloves on as she went. Ross watched her go, then followed without a word. In the ICU, a patient was seizing, monitors screaming bloody murder. Ava assessed in seconds, barking calm, clear orders that cut straight through the rising panic. She was all focused now. The rest of the world narrowed down to airway, circulation, neural response. Ross stood back, silent, watching. He saw what the others had missed earlier. The speed of her clinical decisions. The way the entire room unconsciously aligned itself around her authority. They stabilized the patient. The seizure slowed, stuttered, stopped. The alarm quieted to a warning hum. Ava stepped back, breathing evenly. She stripped off the gloves. That wasn't coincidence, Ross said quietly. No, Ava agreed. It wasn't. Mercer stared at her, and for the first time all night, doubt cracked through his certainty. What the hell are you? Ava met his gaze without flinching. I'm the nurse on duty. Ross checked his watch. We are running out of time. For what? Ava asked. For the part where this stops being containable, Ross said. Right now, it's isolated. Soon it won't be. Ava glanced down the hallway toward the ER entrance. The SUVs were still there, engines purring, waiting like patient predators. If you came here to take me, she said, you're already too late. Ross's mouth twitched, almost a smile. I came here to give you a choice. The word hung in the air between them. Another alarm sounded different this time, deeper. The kind that meant protocols nobody wanted to activate. The intercom crackled to life. All departments, stand by for further instruction. Ross' radio came alive again. He listened, then closed his eyes briefly. It's spreading, he said. Ava felt it then. That old familiar constriction in her chest. The moment right before everything goes sideways. Then stop wasting time standing around. Ross opened his eyes. We need you. Ava nodded once, sharp and decisive. Then get the hell out of my way. She turned back toward the ER, already moving with purpose. The staff parted instinctively now, finally understanding something they couldn't name. Ross watched her go, then spoke into his radio, voice low and final. Full operational readiness, he ordered. And keep those vehicles exactly where they are. Outside, the SUVs continued their patient idle, engines steady, waiting for whatever came next. And inside the hospital, buried systems began to wake up. The first thing that changed wasn't the noise. It was the weight of eyes on Ava's back. Not the usual annoyance she'd grown accustomed.